So one of the things I want to talk to you guys today about is real world assets in terms of tokenization and just how big the market is and how the market is in transition. So I mean that developers that have blockchain skills and understand the real world tokenization of assets, for example, real estate, could be stocks and bonds. This is where the real value in blockchain is moving. As of the end of 2025 in December, real world asset tokenization, guys, was at $36 billion, dollars, and that's outside of stablecoins. If you guys know anything about stablecoins, because of the Genius Act, there is a lot of institutions and financial institutions that built out their own stablecoins, right? And so you got to ask yourself, what skill set do you need? Because that's the new frontier. Because, guys, we're moving from a situation where before, it was more experimental based, you could say. There's a lot of projects, but when you have institutions and you have people that are coming into the space because of the Clarity Act that's making its way through Congress right now as we speak, and the Genius Act specifically with stablecoin legislation, right? Because without the Genius Act, then all the financial institutions never would have built their stablecoin infrastructure. You look at JP Morgan Chase, you look at the DTCC, right? These are big institutional players that are coming onto the blockchain and building out their infrastructure, right? And so even one of the protocols that we're building is a real world asset protocol. And then I have a client that I'm working with, another real world asset. So you start to see, in terms of developers who pick up the skill of blockchain, who actually understand smart contracts and understand real world assets, you're really setting yourself up for the future, right? Because you think about it, if a lot of the financial institutions are now coming on chain based on the Genius Act and based on the Clarity Act, which they are coming on chain, then in terms of smart contract auditing, which is another field, another part of the blockchain skill set that you have to have. I'm a certified blockchain architect and a certified smart contract auditor. I've been in technology for 30 plus years. I started in mainframe back in the day. It had to be, it was in the late 80s, because I remember working in Radio Shack and we were getting ready for the PCs that were coming out in the 80s, right? Because in Radio Shack during Christmas time, that's when people came and bought. Anyway, that's when I got involved in learning mainframe from a friend of mine working in Radio Shack. He said, Arnold, you'll be good at computers, so why don't you go down to the Urban League? And that's what I did. Went down to the Urban League, and then that's where I started my journey. From there, had an internship at the city of LA, and then from that built a 30 plus year career. Became a computer network analyst, and then a computer network architect, and then ultimately got into blockchain. And so now the whole ecosystem is thriving, right? And so even when I worked at one of the biggest Silicon Valley firms, they launched a stablecoin, right? One of the first big companies to do it. And so that was all exciting. And so I knew back then, and many people knew, that getting this skill set and blockchain developing, understanding the market, and we are at a pivotal point in where blockchain is going. This is no longer speculative in terms of the infrastructure of institutions dealing with blockchains. So now as a developer, you might have other skills, like I always talk about, and you just might be at a point where you need to upgrade your skill set, right? You need to get, and I always call it the fourth industrial revolution, right? And I talk about how I help people build blockchain portfolio applications for the future. And so we use our tech stacks, our artificial intelligence tech stacks, to build out front ends, right? Because we can build faster by using our AI tech stack. So you put that together with blockchain, you got to do security on your smart contracts, right? That's number one. But number two, you got to do security on the front end that you're building in these applications that are then connecting to the blockchain. So it's a whole different architectural thinking, but in terms of my background, that's what I do, right? I'm a computer network architect, right? And so after having all this information and technology knowledge over these many years, right, I have what's called, or I have developed what's called system thinking. I think in systems, whether it be technology systems, marketing systems, because once you learn this skill set, right, you have to understand how to market yourself on sites like LinkedIn, right, or in the different places where you are talking about what you do. But getting back to the portfolio that you need to build, you have to have these types of applications that institutions and people that are building on the blockchain, the institutional layer that I see that is being built now. So you have to have those skill sets. You can be a consultant, you can probably work for a firm, or in a lot of cases, you can build some of the applications that are coming down the pipe. So when you look at artificial intelligence, and like I say, again, I always talk about the skills of the fourth industrial revolution, in my opinion, are Web3, blockchain, and artificial intelligence. So as we move down the road of what we're looking at now, AI agents will be making transactions on the blockchain behalf of companies and individuals, right? What a protocol, one of the protocols is X402, which was created by Coinbase and Cloudflare. You might want to look that up. But what I'm trying to get across to you and what I'm trying to let you understand is that you have to update your skills. You want to update your skills. We're in the fourth industrial revolution. Take the skill set that you already have in developing. You already know how to develop. You already know how to create products and services, right? You already know how to do that. Add blockchain and add artificial intelligence to your tech stack. But the solution that you need the right types of portfolio applications. That's going to be key between now, especially in the next year, right? Because as the legislation of the Clarity Act moves through Congress, you need to be developing your skill set such that you will be ready when the particular legislation is finally done, right? And so one of the things I've always done in my career is every time we went to the next level, whether it was cloud computing, whether it was Windows Server, in my case, I started out in Novell networking after mainframe. Every time there was a new skill set that I need to learn, I had to go get that, right? In the technology field, especially now with AI, you have to continually learn. You have to continually learn. I don't care what stage it is in your career, you have to continually learn. You have to fall in love with the process of building. You have to fall in love with the process of learning new information. And you have to fall in love with the process of taking your time and building out projects, right? So if by 2030, like it's projected, that it could be tens of trillions of dollars that are coming through decentralized applications, right? So you want skill sets now that can carry you to the future, especially the next 5 years. If you look at the next 5 years, we know it's probably the next 5 or 10 years of artificial intelligence and blockchain, because blockchain is being baked into what? Our financial infrastructure, right? So these are some of the things that you want to think about. These are some of the things that you really want to do research. Remember, these models, these LLM models, get better, I believe now, every 3 to 3.5 months. Right? So in your thinking about your skill set, because we don't know what's going to happen with jobs. We never know what's going to happen with artificial intelligence. The one thing is true, like at my company, we don't hire anyone unless you have AI skills. We're not going to hire anyone unless you have AI skills, unless you are building with the tools, understand the tools. Why? Why would we need to do that? Right? We have a small enough team now, and we can scale, especially with our partnerships. We can scale and we can build just about anything now with our small team. Our company, the way I'm running the company, because I am the CEO, I am running it like companies are being run in Y Combinator, right? If you guys don't know how they're running companies in Y Combinator, go look it up in YouTube. But that is the paradigm shift on how we are running our companies, guys. All right. So I worked at a Silicon Valley firm for seven and a half years. Started out as a contractor, then was there for another 6.5 years, right? So that's systems thinking and how you need to have your thinking if you decide to open up your own firm or company, right, to take advantage of what I've been talking about, right? The skill sets needed in the fourth industrial revolution. But understanding that in terms of blockchain, tokenization is real. Tokenization of assets are going to drive the next market. We see digital assets where they are right now, right? Digital assets is just a small market segment. The next market segment, which is real world assets, that market is this big compared to digital assets. All right. So you got to think of them in terms of those lenses. Right. So you need to research tokenization of real world assets. You need to research the Clarity Act. You need to research the Genius Act. Right. I do have a free career guide that you want to get down in the bottom of this video, and you want to subscribe to the channel, because I'm coming and telling you guys not only the experience of 30 plus years being in technology, started in mainframe, all the way up to blockchain, but also my experience in working with people, building out my own protocol, and helping students do the same thing. So we have a pretty big community now, a school community, and would love for you to join the community. But first, you need to get the information of the career guide, right? You want to get that information first. So again, go down, get the free 2026 career guide, get information on the industry as a whole, and start doing your due diligence. Now is not the time. Now is the time to learn, and now is the time to get up to speed, because I'm telling you, real world assets, tokenization, and the fact that institutions are getting involved means that you as a developer need to update your skill with blockchain development and smart contract auditing, right? Because these are the skill sets institutions and people in the blockchain arena are going to need you to have. All right. So that's my perspective. And so see you in the next video, and we'll talk soon.